And we would like to still start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wow, I can't even see that with my glasses.
Roll call shows that all council is present and
No.
requested department head. Bob Martin is here as well.
Thank you.
And we need approval of the agenda.
I moved the agenda.
Support.
Okay, for discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Public comment, at this time anybody wishes to speak?
Just out of curiosity, is the master volume out here or is it in the booth?
It's in the booth.
Yeah, because it's really hot. I mean, it's just at the edge of ringing
Yeah.
chronically. Just turn the master
Maybe
down.
push the mic, well yours is away.
Okay, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Carl Richards, 390 Lennox. Public comments. As you know, I don't say anything of a negative nature when I make a comment, and I'm not going to tonight either. I want to mention, in the In and Out program with the artistic paintings from Detroit Institute of Arts, there's 9 more paintings that have been added to the collection around town. I've only seen 2 of them, but I've been quite impressed with the 2 of them that I did see. According to Kelly Smith, that'll be 7 more than what I've seen, added to the 9 that I believe that we already have. Anyway, item number 2, our concerts in the park this year was a wonderful success, and I went to the last one, even though I only got the last 45 minutes of it. I thought the whole thing overall through the whole summer was exceptional. Okay, next item. Okay, the Oakland County Road Commission's been working in the middle of town. Probably the rest of you out working didn't notice it or anything, but I did, and that's a victory. Okay, big victory, people. Okay, checking the drains, cleaning it out, and rebuilding the catch basin. And I imagine they're going to do 2 or 3 more. Okay, regrettably, I didn't have time to stop and talk to any of them. Give them any helpful hints or suggestions on historical matters. But,
Darn.
but at least they're doing something for us, and that's a miracle, folks, okay? Also, I want to make note to highlighting Bev's interest in Phase 5. I went through Phase 5 today, daytime. First time I've ever been through it, okay? I've never have occasion to go that way, and I think I've been through the program, the site at night sometime, but I've never seen it in the daytime. Today was the first time. I was quite impressed with it. It's quite bigger than I thought it was. Anyway, I urge all of you to take a look at it once in a while in case you've never been out there. Okay. Basically, I guess that's it. And look forward to school starting smoothly in the future here this coming year. I hope we have a winning football team. Thank you very much.
Good start, they're 2-0.
Ed, could I make one quick comment?
Yeah.
Kudos to Lynn for being on Oakland County Road Commission. That's why those 2 catch basins have been rebuilt at the corner of Princeton as you enter Oxford Manor, and the one at East Liberty. We've been on them. Then Lynn finished them off with some great politicking. So that's kudos to her for doing that.
All right, thank you. Okay, we don't have any old business to deal with. It's new business. It's streets and roads workshop, and we do have John Booth with the HRC here, our engineers, and in case there's any question need to be answered, or he can contribute, I'm sure. We had a list of roads handed to us. Okay, I'm gonna throw it to you, Lynn.
I'm going to turn it over to Joan. If you want to pull up everything, it's that Adobe packet at the bottom of the screen. That way you can go through.
It's up in the top corner. Yeah, where the minus and pluses are.
Close enough. Close enough. Well, it's a roadway asset management plan. I think I was here in April maybe to discuss that with you folks. Bore you with a lot of the details. We'll skip over that. The important part of this asset management plan is the city receives Act 51 monies, and without an asset management plan in place, Bob's hands are tied, and he has to spend 50% of that money on local roads, 50% on major roads. Once the city decides on a asset management plan and decides how much money you want to spend and develop a plan for 3 years and continue to monitor that plan year after year and make modifications and continue to work with the 3-year plan, as long as you follow that 3-year plan, it gives Bob some flexibility to spend money outside of that 50-50 split. If the local roads need more money, he's able to spend more money there. If the major roads need more money, he's able to spend more than 50% there. So I think the biggest thing in my mind that really tells the story is this fancy little chart that's in your packet, I'm sure. And the resolution isn't all that great for the folks here in the audience, but I think this one graph can summarize your whole road scenario in one pretty picture with lots of different colors. The red line across the bottom shows that at 2014, when we rated the roads, your average pacer rating on your roadway was 4.8. If there's no additional money spent beyond your Act 51 monies, in 10 years, your average pacer rating will be down to a 2. The lowest pacer rating is a 1 when a paved road turns back to gravel. So that kind of gets the point across of what will happen to your roads if there's not investments made. The next important line is probably the second one from the top, is the green line. That shows if you spend just shy of $1 million a year for the next 10 years, you will maintain status quo as it pertains to the pacer rating of your roadways. It starts at 5.9 and in 10 years projected to be 5.9 as well. To make any headway whatsoever to improve the roadway network from whatever it stands today, we're projecting about $1.2 million a year that needs to be spent for the next 10 years.
Why is it that they don't all start at the same point?
Because this graph assumes that you're spending whatever the line amount dollar is in 14 to get
For
it
the
started.
previous year,
Right,
yeah, okay.
right. So,
Essentially, is it where they converge is where the median of that would have been for the
Correct.
starting point? Okay.
yes. Yeah.
How much are we spending right now? Nothing?
Right now, we have to spend, between state revenue sharing for major and the Metro Act, $609,029 plus an approximate annual allocation of $45,000 for tri-party funds.
I know, but how much are we spending just in
This year,
maintaining?
nothing.
This year, we
Last
have
time-
money set aside for engineering, but none for construction.
We, the last road work we did was, I believe, 2013, I believe it was.
Which was down here?
And we did a little bit on East Liberty at Hagedorn and Lake Street, or 10 Mile there. And over by Harvey's house on the radius down that, on Vassar. And I believe that was around $190,000 we spent at that.
And then didn't we do something down off of 9 Mile, the subdivision, was it Brookdale or,
We did, that's right. That was that's right, we did.
okay.
But I don't think that was some other money that we had to spend in that area.
Okay, but I mean, they've been limited, we haven't done, okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, sorry.
So point tonight is to get discussion going on how much money, do you want to spend money, how much money, for how long, those kind of questions. If some form of consensus can be made by the council, whether it's tonight or in the near future, then we are able to start plugging in numbers into this asset management plan, develop a 3-year plan, which will tell you, the software will spit out and tell you how much you need to spend annually on maintenance, rehabilitation, and reconstruction on an annual basis. That we go through and pick the roads with Bob's help, decide where we want to spend that money, and complete 1 year, and then the computer spits out year 4, and that becomes year 3, and we progress on down the line, fill in some of the blanks in this asset management plan, get it submitted so it can get approved, and we can,
We need to find the sweet spot though, because it's got to be something palatable to the voters, so.
well, that's the funding. Where are you going to come up with 1.2 million, 900,000? Pick a number on that chart. That's the big question, and that's you give us the money, we can get all kinds of stuff built. This is where the money's coming from, obviously. So I know lots of people do it lots of different ways. There's all that flux right now with the up in the state legislature. What are they going to do with the road bill? If back to this exhibit, here are some numbers. When we made this presentation in April, we were just before the May election, and all the if the proposal 1 passed. If it had passed, you could see your local funding would essentially double for all practical purposes. That's only another $500,000. Back to that chart, your line is still falling at that point, even if that was the option that would have passed. It obviously didn't. So.
Well, I mean, actually, we got 335, and it doesn't grow very quickly, you know, this year, so, you know, you're not really even adding another 300,000.
So I think it's important that everybody know, I mean, everyone who's watching this, we have money in on a fund balance for the roads, local and major street,
Yes.
right? And
There-
that totals
That totals $1 million between the two.
between the two. And then we get under Act 51 each year, we get approximately 45,
No, that tri-party is approximately 45.
okay.
I didn't break it out, but between the revenue sharing for major and local and the Act 51, it's approximately 600,000.
And that's each year?
That's each year, but a portion of that has to go for snow plowing.
Right.
And so not all of that can go for construction.
Right.
Okay.
And that's your road maintenance money, maintenance versus rehabilitation or reconstruction. So that pays for Bob's time, his guys' time, trucks, salt, cold patch, those kind of things.
So when all's said and done, as far as what's in that balance right now, for major streets and local, what percentage of that balance in the funds could we use for road projects? I mean, I understand that we're taking money out to pay for,
Right.
Bob's, I mean, I'm just trying to get an understanding.
This fiscal
end of the
year,
day.
we budgeted 300,000 between major and local to do engineering, with the idea that if we pass this asset management, that we could do the engineering and do construction in the next fiscal year, depending upon how much we decided that we wanted to spend on the assets in the future. Also looking at possibly a road millage that is dedicated property taxes towards the repair and maintenance of streets.
What-
Keeping in mind, if you look at Jonathan's graph, that 1 million, that 900,000, that 1.2, that's actual construction costs. That doesn't include any of your engineering costs.
Right. So I guess what I'm saying is, of the money we get each year, what percentage of that goes to like pay for, Bob's people,
About-
snow plowing?
About 20% of it actually is available to be spent on rehab
Right.
and maintenance and
Okay.
repair.
All right. So just to break even based on that chart, we would need to spend 950,000 to maintain the roads where they're at right now?
Correct.
Well, the roads would want to be put towards any road would be better. Then you go to your next road, your next.
Oh, no, I understand that. I don't want to, fix one
I know.
small section of the city and have,
The dynamics of this conversation gets in though, when you take money and put at certain roads in the city, some are curb and guttered already that are failing. Others have no curb and gutter, so then when you tackle it, take for example, West Liberty between McMunn and Hagedorn. There's no curb and gutter down there, okay? So then you have to decide, well, do we just want to peel the road up, put a patch on that, or do we want to redevelop an entire new street there, which can be much more costly than if you don't.
right. So, I
And
mean,
on a few of those streets, you may even want to look at the sanitary lines underneath it.
so I guess the issue then we're faced with tonight is how much, do we want to allocate towards the roads so that we can use it to plug in the numbers for this program,
Correct.
essentially. And then the issue is, do we want to pay it by general fund? Or, I don't know how we can do that, or do we do it by millage? Is that what we're coming down to?
Well, you could do it by general fund, but you would have to raise the general fund property tax to cover it. Or you can do it with a ballot initiative and take it to the voters and have them do a dedicated sunset 10 or 15-year road millage,
Like Green Oak did?
like Green Oak did, like Wixom has done, like Novi has done, like Milford has done, like several communities across the state have done, to where they know how much that they're going to allocate in property taxes every year, similar to the way we have 2.5 mils that are dedicated towards wastewater bonds, but this would be a voter referendum ballot initiative. It's also very similar to what Lyon Township did with their fire and EMS millage. You take it to the voters and say, how much are you willing to spend on roads to make sure that our streets not only improve, but continue to stay in good shape long-term?
And at the end of our packet, there's a chart about what the millage, if we did a millage.
Right, I put together some numbers. I talked with the county assessor and with the city's assessor. She broke the city's household values, taxable values, down by quartiles. Not wanting to get into specifics based by neighborhoods or anything like that. We felt that was the easiest way to do it, is to break it down by quartiles of taxable value and what an approximate a mill would cost in each of those quartiles, and then give you an idea of what the annual cost per household would be annually.
So assuming we did a millage of 1 mil, I mean, would that even get us close to what we need?
1 mil brings in currently $325,000. So add that to the approximate 20% that we have overall out of the rest of the budget to spend. That's going to give us maybe $500,000 a year to spend. So it puts us at that purple line, still decreasing, but better than doing nothing.
Just out of curiosity, what did Green Oak Township do on their, when they went to the ballot? What were they seeking on their millage? Was it 2?
I think they went for 2.
Yeah.
And you should have a chart. I tried to calculate out what our state equalized values will be over the next 10 years. Tried to be very conservative in that, with an approximate 3% increase, not simply because I think taxable values are going to increase, but because we have the Knowles development that is going in, that's going to add additional homes, as well as Charleston Park, which continues to develop, and we have 2 new condo developments that are going in, so we will have some new housing going in. So I think 3% is a very conservative estimate of what our taxable values could increase over the next 10 years.
So just for the sake of argument, if you did it, 2 mills, you're looking at 650,000 with the 20% that we bring in, that we can use from the fund, you're looking at close to what? 900,000
We're
or?
looking at close to 900,000, but again, that doesn't include any of the engineering costs.
And what percentage of the engineering costs? I mean, if you were to do a major,
Round numbers, 20%. So. Actually, I think, Lynn, there are engineering costs and contingencies in these figures.
There are.
I have to confirm, but I'm fairly confident there.
The figures in your graph?
That are reflected in there, and then also in this table
Yeah,
here that
okay.
talks about a cost per lane mile based on Pacer rating. Mike Darga did the cost estimating by number, taking typical city roads here in South Lyon and created these numbers. And I'm fairly confident, I will double check, but I think they have contingencies and engineering in there.
so on that one graph, the 950,000, just to maintain our current Pacer level, that would include engineering costs,
Correct.
subject to confirmation that that's,
Correct.
okay. Wowza.
These are hard decisions that
Well,
have
John, you
been
would-
sort of kicked down the road for years, and now we're in a situation where the city's got to do something. The state's not giving us any guarantees of additional funding, and we can't continue to let the streets deteriorate.
So if you're looking at that graph, which shows the Pacer rating for the city, and you're looking at the areas that are in red, if you were to, I understand that the goal would be, once we allocate how we're gonna do this, or what our decision is, then you would, John and Bob would sit down and try to figure out which would be the priorities as far as the streets are concerned?
Correct. What the RoadSoft software does, it's referenced in that asset management plan. You tell it you want to spend, pick a number, $600,000-$800,000. It will tell you how much you need to spend in a maintenance scenario, joints, crack sealing, pothole repair, how much you need to spend on a rehabilitation, things like overlays and that kind of stuff. And then there's reconstruction, full-blown reconstruction. It will tell you spend $100,000 a year, first year in maintenance. The next year you only spend $20,000. First year in rehabilitation, you spend $0. Year 2, you spend $500,000. Then it comes down to the art of Bob and I, or Bob and HRC, sitting down saying, of that $500,000, where are we going to spend it? Pick this road, pick this road, pick this road.
All right, so is our decision then tonight to decide if we're gonna take it to a, how much we're looking at as far as if we're gonna go 900,000? And if so, are we gonna do it in the form of a millage? And if we do it in the form of a millage, is it gonna be one that's gonna be voted on by the residents of the city?
Correct.
Well, if it's a millage, it's going to be voted.
Well, I know, I understand, but I mean, the decision we're faced with is how much
Right.
are we looking at spending?
And we're not looking at doing a millage election before April, possibly August of 2016, because it will take that much time to educate the public on what we're doing and why we're doing it and why we've decided on the exact numbers, hold public meetings, give them an opportunity to ask questions, really understand, because the more you can educate the public about why you're doing stuff, the better you have a chance of the ballot initiative passing.
I have a general question. So if you were to propose this certain millage, I don't know the exact figures, but I heard in, for example, Lyon Township, they had some of the money actually go to their general fund as well. So I just want to make sure if that's something that you were to propose, a millage, would it be 100% going towards
It would be
fixing the
100%
roads, or
going
would there be
toward,
anything else going towards?
the way the ballot proposal that I would write, the language would be that 100% of the mill levy would go towards roads. None of it could be diverted towards other things.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure. I'm not saying I'm for millage, I'm just very hesitant to, I'm very uncomfortable with, raising a millage. I just wanted to make sure if it was to move forward on your
No,
proposal.
the idea is not to divert it to other things.
Okay, thank
We're
you.
not Lyon Township.
Yeah.
I know what you're worried about.
That was
That's a whole
surplanted
different,
money.
that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
It's a legitimate concern, though. I mean, a lot of people have
Well,
mentioned that
we're
before,
more
so I'm
on
just
up
making
and
sure.
up here.
I'm just
So
making sure.
now,
No, I agree, it's a legitimate concern, and it's all in how the ballot language is written. If you write the ballot language to where it specifically states that it all has to go towards a specific thing, then you're by law held to that. If you leave yourself leeway in the ballot language to spend it on other things, then you do have leeway, but that is not my intention. My intention is for it strictly to be for roads.
okay, as I understand, trying to recall, do we have like 25 private areas in this community?
We do have quite a few private roads in this
I
community.
thought it was
but
18,
Maybe 18? I guess, how do we convince, how do you
Because they drive
Yeah.
on the city streets once they leave their subdivision.
convince them?
They go to the downtown, they go to the events in the heart of the city, they drive to McHattie Park and drive on those streets. They drive on the streets that the city maintains. That's how you convince them.
Taking their kids to school.
Yeah, take their kids to school, take their kids to different activities, take their kids to friends.
21
And
acres
it's part
has
of
a lot
being a
of kids.
community.
I think the millage sounds perfect.
Well, no, the issue too is, I mean, how much of a millage would we seek? And another issue is too, do we want to take any money from the general fund each year to divert to this? Or do we want to do it all on a millage?
I don't see it all happening in
Well,
the village.
if you start budgeting money from your from your fund balance on a programmatic basis, it's gonna be gone in a very
No, I
short
agree.
period.
Oh, yeah.
That's why, I mean,
So you can't do, you can't, it doesn't make any kind of fiscal
Eat no
sense
monies.
to do fund balance for ongoing program.
oh, I totally agree with that, but I mean, that's going to be part of the education, of our residents saying, look, you have this money in your fund,
Yeah.
why aren't you going to use it for these roads? And that's you're right. You start budgeting money from a general fund, at some point, you're not going to have any money in the fund.
It's certainly Green Oak is an example of how you can beautify and enrich the value of your community by what they've done with their roads. It's just, it's a whole different ballgame driving out through there now. It used to be so horrible, and now it's absolutely gorgeous.
they're getting ready to do Doan Road
Mm-hmm.
all the way up to Silver Lake, which is just gonna be unbelievable.
They're gonna pave that?
And that's not a very heavily trafficked road, so to make that investment is really
I
pretty
agree.
interesting, yeah.
I guess the question is, how much do we want to spend per year? And if we're gonna do, just to get $950,000, that's gonna maintain the status quo overall, do we go for the home run, like Green Oak did? And the question is, how much do we want to spend? If it comes down to it,
I'm
based
trying to
on these
think how long
numbers.
theirs went for, how many years. It wasn't a long
I'm just
stretch.
gonna make a comment about coal patching. That's how we live now
Uh-huh.
in the city. With that said, though, there's a real art to coal patching. And we don't have a roller or anything like that, but I have a couple guys that are really good at it. And they go out there and people see those people on the side of the street throwing coal patch. There's an art to that. You put it in the hole, you pack it in, but then we take the tire of the truck and we run it and stuff like that. And our goal is to build it up to such a point that when you drive over it, you don't have a big mound, but you gotta get enough in so you don't have a dip in 3 weeks. And I got a couple guys that are pretty doggone good at it, and just take a drive down Hagedorn Street. If we didn't have effective coal patching on Hagedorn Street, looked like Pearl Harbor there.
That's had one layer of asphalt in its history.
Yeah, yeah.
The Problem is,
You
that
know,
doesn't
the problem-
survive.
That's a perfect example of no curb and gutter, because we got 3 to 4 inches of cold patch in the middle of the road, but it's a crowned road, and as you work or feather out to the outer edges, you have a 1/2 inch to a 1/4 inch of asphalt now. So every winter when we snowplow, we peel up, you know. So I guess what I'm saying is we're gonna keep maintaining the roads to the best of our ability until we come up with a better plan, so.
But the cold patch is a temporary fix. I mean, freeze-thaw cycles beat the daylights out of it, you know, so it's a good way to milk a
Absolutely, and in
road
the
that
summer, it's
hasn't
even more
died.
effective because it can be hot. We can
Sure.
go get hot and put in.
Stays more-
But
it binds
with that
better.
said, we have not spent 1 penny in the last year of bringing a company in to do any asphalt work.
Mm-hmm.
Although I do have a quote coming in to crack seal 9 Mile. We'll have 2 bids in the next week, so.
Well,
I saw
clearly,
you
we
patch
can't
some of
keep
it.
doing what we're doing, so.
You did patch some of it, I noticed.
Yeah, oh yeah. Because the crack sealing, Ted, can't go into cracks that big.
Yeah,
We gotta cold patch it, then we'll crack seal over it,
all right.
yeah.
What a shame. It's what, 3 years old and we're having to do that already.
And that's product of the ground moving, nothing more, you know?
Well, it's along the seals where they put the different, they're straight cracks.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the question is how much do we want to spend? You know? I mean,
Say for millage and Act 51, what other vehicles have you seen communities use?
Not a lot. There's
Yeah.
not a lot of state, federal money. There might be some state or federal money on your major roads, but you have to get in the program. That funding's typically a couple, 3-year fiscal years out, those kind of things. Takes.
We already do that anyway, so, yeah.
So, as far as local roads, like local subdivision roads, get off your main drags, your choices are local money, that is it, and how you get it. You know, road millage seems to be the popular thing. I mean, communities have tried it, some people have been successful. Genoa Township tried one a year or so ago and failed miserably. I think it was 3-1 that went down.
A couple of years ago, you say? Because
Yeah,
timing is really important, you know, timing in what they're asking,
Yes.
you know, so.
Well, I was involved with the Genoa Township one. They didn't get a lot of public buy-in on their program. They the township set, here's a list of 10 roads we're gonna do. Some people didn't like that list because of this road or that road. Groundswell of opposition. They tried to put it out there real quick and get it to the ballot before people had a big chance to get negative momentum going. That failed miserably. At 3-1, I think it got shot down. Heartland Township, where I live, just went through a road millage issue, and I want to say it was $1.5 million, I want to say. They were successful, just barely to get it through. But they spent a whole year. They created what they called a task force. 20, 30 people brought them into town hall. What roads are we going to do? Let's do a survey. They spent money on getting a survey, phone survey, mail survey. They got a lot of public buy-in. They changed the plan. They put their plan out and said, this is what we're going to do. Had a few public meetings. Whoa, we're not going to do that. We're going to take sidewalks out. We're just going to do roads. So I see that as being a successful way to go about it. Get your public buy-in because you're asking these people to vote. And Mayor, I think you've touched on a great thing, this map here that's up on the screen right now, the bluish purple roads are all your private roads. That is a very big question that we'll have to, a very big hurdle that'll have to come over of why should those people take on the millage when their roads aren't gonna get paved in front of their house, right? Everywhere else. Granted, they do drive the public roads and they do go to schools and all those kind of things, but everybody wants to know what is happening right in front of my house, because this is where I live, this is what I pay taxes on, so. That's going to be a big hurdle to overcome here in the city.
Do the numbers you have in your graph, like the 1.2 million to increase our Payzer rating, include roads that are controlled by the road commission?
No.
Solely our stuff. Now, what's the dynamic of a township? How much assistance are they getting from the counties to do subdivisions and things of that nature? Because, I mean, obviously Oakland is pretty strapped, except for maybe in Troy and Auburn Hills, so.
I can comment on the Heartland Township one. All of their paving projects were all major roads. They only paved one 2-mile road, turned it from gravel into pavement. The other ones were mill and overlays of major roadways, re-graveling, a fresh layer of limestone on top of a gravel road, those kind of things. Heartland Townships did not go into any public subdivisions doing these small little local roads. They all stayed to the major roads, and that was 1.5 mils, which was a lot of dough
Yeah.
for that township. And keep in mind, townships, I don't have to tell you guys this, they don't even own the roads, right?
Right.
They're
That's
putting
right.
tax money onto roads that are owned by the county. So, different monster for you folks. Same way with Genoa. They weren't going into subdivisions. They were all major mile roads that they were planning to do, so.
Is that holding true with Green Oak as well? I mean, essentially, all their stuff is main arteries?
No, as far as I know, Green Oak is pretty much just taking off a chunk of roads every year and redoing them.
Okay, so subdivisions, though, they're fending for themselves, or?
I could check with Mark, the supervisor in Green Oak, but that I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they're not anywhere near as heavily, spun out with side streets like we are,
But aren't they doing the roads that are controlled by the Livingston County?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
doing
they
Livingston
don't own
County
it.
roads.
yeah.
Right.
They just said, we're not gonna wait, we're gonna do them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a
right.
matter of being proactive or reactive or waiting for somebody else. I can comment, City of Wixom, we are their engineers. They've had a road millage for, I think it was 95 was it first implemented, 1.5 mils for local roads. We go through, they spend just shy of $1 million a year, and they do go into subdivision roads, and they go in and reconstruct those roads, not just mill and overlay. They go through, dig down 14, 15 inches, put new stone, new base, new asphalt, repair the curbs, those kind of things. That's the level that they are at, because their 1 mil generates closer to $600,000 or $700,000. They're a little bit bigger population-wise, a little bit bigger space-wise, but
SUV,
they've been
yeah.
doing it for 15 years. So they've done all their big major roads. They're doing maintenance on those. Now they're spending their money into their internal subdivision roads.
What kind of lifespan does a subdivision street get? I mean, because that's got to be pretty long.
The reconstructs that we're doing in Wixom, where we're digging down 12, 14 inches, putting geogrid, 8, 10 inches of stone, and then 5 inches of pavement on top of that, we won't have to go back in there in my lifetime, my career, to go
That's
back.
kinda
And
what I
when they
thought.
do, peel off the top inch or two and put some new stuff down, put a few little crack seals on there, and
But no
it's being built
substantive
right,
failures,
being
yeah.
reconstructed rather than just rehabilitated. Big difference.
Mm-hmm.
They are way ahead of the curve when it comes to that, and they will reap those benefits 10, 20 years going forward when they won't have to spend road money to the order of magnitude we're talking
Right.
about now.
That's a huge investment up front, but yeah, you get long-term
And is that-
payback, yeah.
Concrete?
Say again?
Is that concrete when they?
Most of their subdivision roads are asphalt, but they do go into their concrete industrial roads and do the same thing. Okay, so.
John, about 3 years ago, I want to say it was, Dixboro was being tossed around by Oakland County, Livingston County, and I'm assuming they were looking to see us put something into it. Did you know if that, they were, it seems like, wasn't it 17 or 18 that they were talking,
Yeah.
2017, 18?
3 million.
We were talking 2 years from now. Is that going to be something we're committed to as far as having to put money towards? Do you know anything about that?
I don't know anything about that at all, Mayor, to be honest with you. I do know that the city is part of the Livingston County funding mechanism for your federal aid roads, which
here in
depends,
Valley or something?
a matter of perspective if that's a good thing or a bad thing, right? I mean, obviously you guys are in Oakland County, but you go there to get your road funding. Maybe not a bad thing, because if you got into a pot with all the other
Oh,
Oakland
yeah.
County,
It's been very
communities.
valuable to us.
and when you start looking at traffic counts and those kind of things, how they weigh into who gets money, you guys just can't compete with that, right? So I think it's a better thing you're kind of out in Livingston County, a little more rural, a little more fits what you guys do. It's not nearly as competitive, not as rigid as Oakland County is, and I think Lynn's been making steps to get into that funding committee group and get some money coming your way, because you guys haven't got money for a long, long time from them, right? Bob?
No, 10 Mile, I thought.
10 Mile was
10 Mile.
included on that.
Yeah, that was
But
2
as far
years.
as big reconstruction projects, big dollars.
That was a 2.
8 Mile, that was that. That was
8
federal
miles, not-
federal aid.
But that's not in the city limits.
It was our, I mean,
It was our
we've
project.
got frontage.
And we
Half
have
of that
some
road is
frontage.
ours.
We
Yeah.
got Lyon Township to go with us on it a little bit.
So Lynn, do you know Dixboro is being considered?
It's being considered. I've talked to Mark in Green Oak. They are heavily pushing to have it paved, but it's a matter of finding the funding. They've got other roads right now that are at the top of their list because they're trying to get the county to help pave Dixboro rather than use their road millage for it. So I don't know when it's scheduled for right now. They've talked 17, 18 as a fiscal year, but there's also talk of pushing it out because of other work that's being done in Livingston County.
Well, there was 2 program years, because it was the 8-9 and then 9-10, 9 mile to 10 mile stretches. They weren't doing them simultaneously, so.
Right.
See, a major hurdle I see in this whole thing, even though I think we're gonna have to do something, is that people are gonna wanna see like your major roads done, like Pontiac Trail, Lafayette. They're gonna wanna see that redone with this money that we allocate towards fixing the roads. And the problem is, unless we do it ourselves, it's a road commission road, it's a county road. So
That's
I
always
mean,
been the case, but
Yeah.
if we can supplement that, that helps. So-
because Green Oak, you drive around Green Oak and the whole thing is done, and they're working on the other areas, but they decided to take it on themselves rather than wait for Livingston County.
But they drove on roads that were like battlefields for ages and ages, so finally, people that were moving in said, what the heck?
See, I think a lot of this
We-
is subdivisions.
One thing to consider is if we have a dedicated road millage, we have the potential to go to Oakland County's Road Commission and say, okay, we have this much that we can
That's right.
share with you
That's true.
for resurfacing and rebuilding Pontiac Trail and have the opportunity to move to the top of the list because it's less expensive for them.
That's true.
Sure,
That's true.
Or
sort of a
increase-
reverse grant. Well,
Well, it is. It is sort of like.
Primary part, yeah.
We're paying to get their money for
Uh-huh.
us.
Or increase your percentage of match, instead of doing 20-80, tell them you'll do 70-30, 50-50.
Right,
That gets a lot of points and moves you up the list.
sure. Well, I don't know, what I was looking at this, I think the 2 mil thing really is probably as close to what we could get away with and still end up holding our own, Anything less than that, and we're just, losing ground just a little bit slower, so.
With that said, as soon as you would get money to put towards roads would be 17?
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
Yes. But we could be in a position to where, with the money that we're spending, that we have allocated to spend on engineering this year and with getting the asset management plan in place, we have this year's funding, which is some. We do have some fund balance, so we can begin some smaller projects in this fiscal year and some in the 16-17 year and then do the major projects after a potential ballot initiative passes once the tax money starts coming in 17.
No, Glenn, I agree with you. I think we can't lose ground.
Right, and that gives us time to educate, so,
Much that I hate it, but I don't know what else we can do.
right. We should start taking a whole lot of photographs and stuff of the degeneration of areas just to show that this is only going to be expanding if we don't end up taking this tact, so.
We actually, Bob and his crew already went out and took several videos. I'm working on getting them edited together. I'm going to work with the Cable Commission because Bob and his employees narrated them where they are on the city streets as something that we could potentially put in conjunction with this meeting on the cable channel so people can see what we're talking about. They used a video camera and the golf cart so people can really see the roads up close, not just driving by at 30 mile an hour.
When these are directional mics, so when you point them up, these speakers are much more apt to pick up on.
We thought it was getting it.
It'd help if you turned that off.
He's talking about the computer.
Well, okay, so how do we end up moving forward with a decision then.
Well, if you can give John some direction on how much you're wanting to spend, he can plug the numbers into the asset management plan. We bring it back to the council for final approval for submittal to the state. And then we begin working on the education piece, and deciding, based on what that is, how much are we going to, and do we want to look for an April election, or do we want to go for August, November? We really don't want to go for November of 16 because that's a presidential, but we could go for the primary in August, which
I
you're
don't think
still.
we need to be dallying with this. We need to get things moving, so, yeah. Well, I make a motion that we approve or actually, we give HRC the ability to put together the road asset management plan at a 2% figure.
A 2 mil?
2 mil, excuse me, 2 mil figure. Yeah.
Very well, we can finish that up and get that buttoned up for you. Get it back, final form to you for approval.
I'll second.
Further discussion, we can only hope that people would realize, I don't know, again, no matter how much the tax increase is, the value of their homes would seem to me would skyrocket even further.
Well, it was like $120 some bucks for like a $200,000 value house. So,
$247.10.
yeah, okay.
When it comes to selling their house, I'm just saying, I think they're in better position with the nicer roads around it.
Oh, yeah, no question, sure.
Does Martindale fall in the city limits, or is that?
Yeah. it
No.
is.
The east side of Martindale is not the city limits. I don't believe, Bob, do we maintain Martindale?
I thought we paid to pave that.
Martindale between 9 and 10?
Yeah. No?
10 and
No.
11.
10 and 11.
Oh, I'm sorry.
9 and 10 and
Yeah.
11, I
Yeah.
have to say.
There is
No,
no,
we didn't pay.
Oh, we didn't? Oh,
No,
okay.
and the county plows that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, the county
Oh.
funds.
Oh, yeah, it's a main road.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So what we did tonight was just, the motion was made by Glenn to just give them authority to start plugging in the numbers, just to see what we're looking at, right?
To generate the plan, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we voted yet, have we?
No,
we're
no,
still
I'm
in-
just making-
nope, we're
yeah.
still in discussion. There was a second, or first and a second, but it's just, we were discussing.
Yeah.
And so, all in favor of having HRC to pursue a plan on this for 2 millage, 2 mils is what we can get, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
4 of us, anyway.
Yep.
Well, it's not gonna commit us to the 2 mils, or anything
No,
like
it's just
that.
a C.
We got a lot done tonight. People need a lot more.
Well, I'm glad we weren't trying to pick roads.
Oh, good heavens, yeah.
Well,
Well,
no,
of
this
course-
was a worthwhile conversation to have, and this was a good forum to do it in, rather than do an hour of a general meeting. So
Right.
I'm glad we did this.
You know, John, I did want to ask you, you said that the road software will delegate what the percentages for particular activities are. Are there more than one breakdown package with that? Like, you know, that you could push it more heavily towards reconstruction, or like, do you have any flexibility in trying to dial up the way that it allocates those funds?
The output for the RoadSoft software will be broken into 3 different columns: maintenance, rehabilitation, and reconstruction. There will be years that there will be $0 spent on reconstruction because you're trying to keep the roads that are 6s and 7s, trying to do your joint and crack sealing, get those back up to 8s or 9s to get a few more years out. But you can only do that for so long, and then you get into year 3 or 4, maybe there's only 10,000 in maintenance, just a little bit of that, and you dump all your money into reconstruction.
Yeah.
That's the science of what comes out of the RoadSoft software.
Okay.
The art of it is sitting down and deciding, let's do this, let's do that. And it may tell you to spend $200,000 in reconstruction. Maybe we don't need to do that this year. Let's only spend 150 and dump that 50 back into maintenance because that's what we know we need. So it's a computer-generated software output. It's good for what it is. Garbage in, garbage out. You got to take it for what it's worth.
Yeah,
and
okay.
Adjust from there.
Right, yeah, because that road selection is really critical to get the best return on that investment.
I don't know if that speaks to what is under the road though.
That is a true statement for sure, Bob. There's no doubt about it.
And that is the wild card. I mean, if you got a 60-year-old sanitary line running the length of the block, do you really want to put a brand new road over it?
Right,
I'd rather be doing overlays in certain areas.
And then there can be
And
things.
we will.
And there could be some things parlayed, like if the sewer line does need to be rehabilitated, well, the sewer fund pays for the sewer rehab, right? And maybe it pays for half the road because it's close enough that it would take out half the road, right? Then your road millage is only paying to rebuild half the road, and the sewer fund's paying the other half. So there's some creative things, once you kind of get into the finite details, there's some things you can play around with that, likewise with the water fund, those kind of things. So, assuming those have money, of course, right?
I understand that. It doesn't make the projects any less expensive because you're getting the money from that different
Hey,
fund.
left pocket or right pocket, right? You are correct there.
I have a question. Just, I wasn't really clear on the timeline, so we gave authorization to begin the study. So that's just a study. But then after that, can you, Lynn, continue to take me through what your timeline is? And
Once he's got the study complete, we will bring the final asset management plan to the council for approval. It then gets submitted to the state. We also begin to, if that's definitely the amount that you guys say you want to spend, we will start putting together the education piece to talk to the public, have the council decide which election they want, if we're going for a mill election. Is this the April election? Is this the August election? And from there, we will put the education pieces in place, set together community meetings, and begin educating the general public through different forums, meetings,
Yeah.
newspaper articles, things like that.
I kind of got the concept at the beginning of the meeting, but basically, when are you going to bring, when do you think you want to have us vote on it next, is my question.
By the end of the month. Hopefully, the asset management plan will be completed so that we can bring it to the meeting on the 24th.
Just as a helpful suggestion too, that map that you had up on there, maybe you could make that available for people that just want to come into City Hall and get a printout of it. And anybody that wants to look at, okay, well, this road is bad here, or this road is bad here, okay, I see what you're saying, you know. Might be a helpful tool for people that may want to study it.
Well, I think like the asset management plan, when it's done, can certainly be posted on the
Yeah,
website.
It'll be posted on the website.
Anybody can just print it off.
Yep. Another idea would be to take this big map with the condition of the roads and put it on a whiteboard and have it shown in City Hall, so if anybody wants to come in and take a look and see what their street is rated and what kind of condition it is, that way they have a better idea, don't have to look at a computer screen. It's all part of the education.
Okay, anything else, folks? I'd like to call for an adjournment of this workshop.
Let's go home.
Ted, can I bring up one thing real quick?
Sure.
Lynn, in your weekly report, and thank you for those, I saw that our fire chief attended a seminar in Atlanta where he was a presenter,
Yes,
and it's my understanding that he paid for that out of his own personal funds.
yes, he did.
I would like to see us cover that. Since he was a presenter, it's my understanding that he was representing the city of South Lyon at the presentation. I don't see why there's any reason why we shouldn't cover that seminar that he presented at as an employee of the city of South Lyon. I just don't think he should have had to pay out of his own personal funds for that. I don't know if there's any
No, I
concern.
have no misgivings at all about that.
Was that his idea, or did he ask and,
He did not ask, it was
Did
his
not ask?
idea.
well, let's us take the initiative on that. Maybe we can do that at our next meeting.
I was gonna say, that'd be something we can put on for the next meeting.
Right, I've just
Which
asked,
is not too far away.
right, but I would ask that
Just to
that be.
put it out there, right, yeah.
Okay, then I'll ask that that's added to the agenda.
Okay.
That's all I have, thanks, Jeff.
All right, somebody make motion, adjourn?
I'll move that we adjourn.
Okay. All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone else?
That ends this meeting in approximately 55 minutes. Thank you for watching.